Hi, I'm Andrew Wright, Principal of Professional Southport, and this is the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. I've built a multi-million dollar property portfolio, delivering a seven-figure annual rental income, and led my real estate team through thousands of sale and lease transactions. In each episode, I share real deals and strategies that will help you find, fund, and operate profitable property deals. The aim of this show is to provide education and build a community of like-minded investors who can collaborate, share insights, and help each other in each other's journeys. You can make excuses or you can make money, but you can't do both. So come and join us. G'day and welcome to the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. Today, for the first time, I'm bringing on a guest, and he's a long-term friend of mine, perhaps nearly 20 years, Mr. Gus Vella. We're going to break down 4 fantastic deals that Gus has done. The first deal was a $185,000 purchase that Gus managed to sell for $5.1 million, a $5 million profit. Deal 2, a $650,000 block of rural land that Gus sold for $1.7 million, a $1 million profit. Deal number 3 was a block of units that Gus renovated and sold, all within a 12-month period, with a 33% return on money. And his final deal was a mortgagee in possession sale that he purchased $700,000 under market value and a $250,000 rental income. Gus, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I've known you for a long time. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you got into property?
Yeah, good question, Andrew. Yeah, I was a school teacher in my early 20s, and
On the Goldie?
On the Gold Coast, yes, yeah. High school teacher, and started doing that and bought my first property about 3 months into being a school teacher, since I had my first permanent job. And
you were in your 20s or?
Yeah, early 22.
22, you bought your first house at 22?
23, I graduated 22. 23, I bought my first house.
Yeah.
And in Southport for $66,000, a 3-bedroom brick and tile house. We discussed this previously, but yeah, in Merrin Street, not far away from where your office is, sort of thing.
Yeah.
While I was school teaching, earning my $30,000 a year before tax, I got a call from the agent the following year. So after approximately 12 months, he rings me up and says, are you interested in selling your house? I said, well, I've only just bought it. Mm-hmm. And he goes, but I can sell it for you right now for $140,000. I'm going, why would I? No, is that for real? $140,000? I've just
That's more than double.
More than double in 12 months.
Year.
In 12, I'm going, what's going on? Here I am at school teaching economics. You know how not the real world works, but you know all this curriculum you got to based information to students about how what happens in the world, and this guy's telling me I potentially made 70-odd thousand tax free.
Yep.
While I've been school teaching, earning probably more like $20,000
after tax. $20,000.
And so I looked at myself in the mirror one day and went, well, these students, they're giving me a bit of a hard time sometimes. Do I really want to do this forever? And I kept on doing it for a bit longer, but realised that I could potentially, make my life goals happen a bit sooner, than through school teaching, So that was something that triggered me off having an interest in real estate.
And was your transition straight into it full time, or did you do a couple of investments on the side while you were teaching, or did you just quit your job and go?
Well, I did quit my job the following year.
Okay.
But I could get loans because I had a permanent job,
help qualify
for loans and all that. So
yeah.
After getting that in getting that sale, my home, I looked at an opportunity, which was that first one we were going to talk about, because I had equity. Then all of a sudden, I've gone from very little equity to a lot of equity in property, and the banks could see that I could borrow money to finance my second property, which was that property for $185,000, which I purchased after my $140,000 sale. So yeah.
And before we run through the 4 deals, you have been not just land banking and making money, but you've actually been involved in developing sites as well. Just in summary, what have you built? Units or townhouses? What sort of developments have you done?
I've built predominantly townhouses from vacant land, or in some cases we knocked houses down and built blocks of boutique blocks, like from 5 up to sort of 15 sort of blocks of units, or townhouses.
Yeah.
In some cases prestige houses as well I've done by the beachfront, and down over the border in New South Wales and Kingscliff.
Okay.
So I've done some houses down there in a brand new estate next to the beach. So that's predominantly what I've done in the new developments. Yeah.
Right, great. Okay, well, let's get into these deals. I'll just refer to my notes here. Deal 1, 49 Eggersdorf Road, Ormo. This is unreal, Gus. Bought for $185,000, sold it for $5.1 million. Can you just talk us through the deal and the time frames and how you financed it, and talk us through the deal?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that property there I purchased as like my second property, which I eventually rented out. But
how old are you at this stage?
I'm in my mid-20s.
Mid-20s, okay.
Yeah, mid-20s.
Yeah.
Because that property, when I sold it, I was 40. So, yeah, I held it for approximately 15 years.
Okay.
So I did the financing through the sale from my first house.
Yep.
Used the equity, got into that again.
So you paid cash for it? Or
I borrowed funds.
Yeah, what's like 50% over your sale?
Because I had that 50% equity out of the sale from the first property, that we put our own equity into the purchase.
Yep.
And also the capital growth that we had, which was tax-free.
Okay.
And then, the rest we financed.
So what was it? How many like acres of land, and what sort of house was on it?
Originally, it was, when I purchased it, was advertised as 15 acres, which is 6 hectares.
Yep.
With a 2-story brick house, approximately 40 squares, solid brick.
Yeah, right.
Brick house.
Okay.
4-bedroom, double gap, you name it, billiard, and was fully furnished. Billiard table, everything was, the person unfortunately was ill.
Yep.
And had to get out of it quickly, was suffering from ill health. And it was sold fully furnished, had guest quarters as well, had machinery shed with machinery, tractors, everything, it was like a whole hobby farm. But the thing I liked was the location, that I'd been looking and reading about the growth in the area, and realising we've got a capital city up the road, about an hour up the road, as we know, Brisbane.
Yep.
3rd largest city in Australia, and the Gold Coast being only an hour south, I guess, and approximately, I suppose, 6th largest city in Australia. And all that reading I was finding out, my research was that this corridor was going to be in high demand in the future, because the natural progression of growth, being in the same state, was north from the Gold Coast. West, we've got, there are hindrances with mountains and hills and being further from infrastructure and the beach and the coast. So I thought that the corridor was the way to go. That was what my research was telling me. And
was it marketed with a price? Did it have a price on it when you purchased it? And was 185 in your view a bargain at that time, or just a little bit under?
It was advertised around the $200,000 mark.
Okay.
But we managed to get it for 185. But
yep.
I thought it was exceptional buying, because I went down to the council and looked at. I didn't even engage a town plan. I just did my own due diligence and looking and seeing that it was in a future urban footprint. So the council had earmarked, well, back then it was called the Albert Shire Council, that this was a future urban footprint area of for where the town was going to grow from, this Ormo area,
So you thought one day it would be used for residential development for houses?
For residential. That's what I was led to believe by the council footprint, saying this is a future urban zoning that's going to happen, even though it's rural now, but this will be future urban down the track at some stage in the future. So from my point of view, it wasn't a short-term investment. It was going to be a long-term, and that was the way I was thinking anyway.
And at some point in time, you told me prior to the podcast that you were approached by the state government to reclaim some of the land. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, I was advised when I was purchasing the property that there is high likelihood that adjoining the frontage of the property, or the corner of the property, that, like a triangular truncation, that the Queensland Railway were going to build a train line again, because there was a train line once upon a time to the Gold Coast, and in all their wisdom, they sold off all their land back to all the private landowners, and never, they thought, no, it's not going to happen again. But it obviously was on the cards because of this growth. I mean, most people looked at it, shied away from it, and thought that was going to be an issue. Who would want to be next to a train line? Which 99% of people would probably think that way.
Yep.
I could see that it could be an opportunity, that something could come out of this with more growth in the area that need to be nearer to services, be it residential, commercial. So might even be another train station there one day. That was what I was being led to believe. That there could be a big push of urbanisation, so there could be a reason for a train station there in the future.
Just on that, my subconscious has just come up with a question now about when everyone else looked at that site potentially going to be a rail station. Did that mean that property no one else was interested in it? Was it on the market for months, or did you buy it straight away without any competition in the first couple of weeks, or was it a site that was difficult to sell because everyone knew there might be a train going through there?
It was a hindrance. Yes, the train line was a hindrance to most people.
Yep.
So I can't recall, because this was obviously
long time ago,
how many people were looking at it, but I didn't muck around with it once we found out about it.
Yep.
And we put an offer in, and remembering that it was fully furnished with everything, walk in, walk out type thing. So
free pool table, you got a place, eh?
Tracked all the toys out there you can play around with, rod-on mowers, you name it. The whole, there's even a chicken pen with chickens in it. So it came with everything. So,
eggs for breakfast every morning.
Yeah, and there was several fruit trees and wildlife to go with it. And it was only literally 500 metres off the M1, because the number 49, that means it was 490 metres from the M1. Because the Fire Brigade, that's how they do number properties.
I didn't know that.
They work on how many metres, from the to work out how far they are from the M1, because they're rural properties and today. So it was roughly half a kilometre off the M1, and sorry.
And so what happened then? You lived in that place, or you rented it out for 15 years? What happened?
Lived in it initially. Yep. Eventually moved out and moved back to town and rented it out. Yes. So I was getting approximately $300 a week rent. So you can do the sums there. It was paying itself, in the time that I held it.
Yeah.
I was in front just on rent. If you look at
it,
positive, yeah. So, and that was only just renting upstairs predominantly. Upstairs, I kept the upstairs for myself, so I could still go there if I wanted to on weekends, and if I wanted to do anything with the machinery or maintain any property at the back, because the people, there's 15 acres initially until the resumptions happened.
And you've told me that the secret to that massive $5 million profit came about when at some stage the council rezoned that land. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, well, like I said to you, initially it was in a future urban footprint. As my neighbours, who probably weren't as patient as myself, they sold their land to developers who then subdivided their land into residential allotments, new estates. I suppose I was almost like the last man standing with this property in this urban footprint that hadn't developed it, where they wanted the centre of this Ormo town, or whatever you want to call it, township. So and that put probably more pressure in changing the little dot to a blue dot, which was more commercial.
Yeah.
And then people like Coles, for example, came knocking on my door, to want to buy it. Yeah, so
was Coles the buyer of your site?
Yeah, Coles bought it, and they bought the property next door, and they've now got a Coles shopping centre there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
you weren't advertising it. They just knocked on your door and said, "Can we buy your site? We want to build a Coles there."
Yeah.
So
I mean, you need a bit of luck at times, but then I guess if I was impatient, because several years earlier I was in the process of selling it because I found something else I thought better, in Vauxhall Road, which is now Coomera Town Centre.
Yes.
So I was going to do a similar thing,
Yeah.
but I couldn't do both. I had to sell one, and I had a contract on it for $660,000, probably 5 years prior. And I was going to buy another property for 300 and something thousand, similar thing, 9 acres in the Coomera Town Centre there.
Right.
But then that deal didn't go through. So I was fortunate, but I would have made it on the other one too.
Did you come up with 5.1, or Coles just hit you with an offer?
I came up with 5.
How did you come up with that figure?
Well, I was paying $100,000 commission, $100,000 commission to the agent.
Yeah.
And I said, I need 5. That's my figure.
Yeah.
And I'll pay you
Good on you.
$100,000 commission.
What a great deal.
I mean, the agent still made good money.
So 5 mil. Was any part of that capital gain exempt from tax because it was your principal place of residence for a while, or do you have to pay tax on it all?
We had it for a fair time, and also it was over 5 acres, so
It was over the threshold.
They usually from capital gains point of view, it's got to be under like 7.5 acres.
Yep.
Oh,
Gotcha.
5 acres. 5 acres. Not. It was a larger site.
Yeah,
It was one title as well, but you got to remember.
You don't mind paying tax on 5 mil profit, Gus.
Yeah, you can't go broke taking a profit. They say, but I'd also had monies come in from resumptions as well. So the railways department gave me, I think it was around $45,000.
Yep.
From that portion they cut of the front, and we also found out later that the road itself ran through the front of my property. So there was, by the time it ended up being closer to 5 hectares than 6 hectares, but was around 13.3 acres by the time you take in the land resumptions.
Gotcha.
But then I got an extra $65,000. So that 185 was close to 120. When you look at the resumptions.
Yeah.
But that's because they negotiate, they give you valuations of what the land was worth at the time and all that, even though you think it's worth a lot more and they think it's a lot less, but you agree on a figure. So I got money was attained.
That acquisition from the state government, did you have to do that first before Coles could have a survey plan of the land?
Yes, that was all done.
And that was, was it a 12 period?
When Coles bought it, they bought roughly 5.4 hectares or 13.3 acres. Not 15 like I bought when I was advertised, paid by the real estate agent, was 15 acres.
Gotcha.
6 hectares. But that's how it ended up. So they were buying it net of those areas, that those two resumptions.
So the state government had defined the land that they were going to reclaim, and that allowed you to...
Well, the road was already running through it.
Yeah.
I assumed my front boundary was there.
Yeah.
Yet it should have been through the road. You know what I mean? So it was never... If I had measured it, got it surveyed properly, I guess I would have found out sooner.
Yeah.
But
so you've started off life doubling the value of your house within a year, and then your second transaction you picked up $5 million.
Well, that's out of 15 years.
It was a longer period, but it's still not a bad deal.
Help not being a school teacher. Yeah. So.
Gee, your mates that still teaching at that time would have been angry, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, I did remind them, but that's all right. I used to go and do certain economics lessons at school, teaching about getting into property. Yeah. My life experience is what property can do for you if you started young, especially, and had a go in life. Yeah.
That's a great story, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to deal number 2 here. I've got the address as 473 to 477 Gilston Road, Gilston.
Yes.
So rather than a rural to a commercial rezoning, this one ended up being a rural site that went down the residential development path, but you didn't actually do it. Can you tell us about the deal?
Yeah, well, this one was an opportunity that was presented to me by a friend as well, in this case, like yourself, who thought it'd be
An agent?
an agent, your friend, who said this could be a good site for a childcare centre, because it was earmarked also, the same as the other property in Ormo, as a future urban, even a commercial footprint for the town, a town centre going in on this property.
Okay.
And in this proximity. So, because it was right next to the Gilston Hall, and they regarded that as the centre of Gilston, if you can call it.
What was the land size, Gus?
It was approximately 11,000 square metres, so about 1.1 hectares.
Yep.
It was in 3 titles. So it had a house, a 3-bedroom brick and tile ensuited house with a double garage on the middle block, which was a much bigger block, like a battle axe type block.
Okay.
And 2 other blocks on either side of the driveway, fronting the road.
Yep.
As well, which were roughly half an acre each. So all up, there was about a 1 3/4 acre block with the house, and 2 half-acre blocks already titled, like 3 lots.
What sort of zoning was that at that stage? Was it rural?
Rural, that was rural.
Okay.
Which attracted me to the site initially because I was thinking of my 2 sons down the track, and I thought to give them a helping hand, I'd give them a block of land each, and I can keep that, because the rent was from that property.
Yeah.
If I just fence that off, they could get a good start in life. It didn't end up that way, but that was my way of thinking until I took them out there, and they said, "I don't want to be.
We don't want to live here with the cows.
I don't want to be out here. Why want to live in Gilston?" And I'm going, "You serious?"
Yeah.
So, but then my mentality changed down the track.
So I've written down here, Gus, that you bought that one for $650-ish, and you sold it for $1.7 million. So how did that happen, and what sort of time frame, and did you add any value to it? What actually happened?
Yeah, well, yes, $650 was the price we negotiated initially, which was, I thought, a good price. It was below value.
As usual.
But originally they had a buyer at $800 at the auction. They didn't go through, and ended up getting it for $150,000 below that. So I just bought it after the auction. So
do you know what happened? Like, how can someone
I wasn't at the auction. I'm only saying what I was told, because they said you need to pay $800 to get this to go over the line. It was a deceased estate again.
Yeah.
Another deceased estate. But that I negotiated down $650 for a quick cash sale, because that was what happened on that one to get the purchase at that price.
Okay, very good. And what was your plan? Like, just keep it forever for your 2 kids? And
yeah, well, I could see there could be some future development there, with it being in a possible commercial zoning.
Yeah.
But there were issues there, because it was in terms of infrastructure, there wasn't town water and sewerage going to the actual property.
Yep.
And to do a development, you need to get it from somewhere else. You need to farm it in. So
it would have been too expensive to connect all the utilities there for 3 little blocks of land. It just wouldn't have made sense with the numbers.
And the person next door who had control of the Gilston Hall was very anti-development. It was a local.
So he would have protested.
And they protested, and they were very anti, even though her son was one of my best friends I went to school with, which didn't make sense, but she was very anti any development. So regardless of what I knew her son, didn't make any difference. Okay. But and I could gift them things, but no, not interested in me giving them any upgrades of the hall and all these things I tried. So I was hitting a lot of brick walls with the neighbour, because that's where I need to get the services from around that property, the sewerage and the town water.
So what triggered you to sell the site, and how did that happen, Gus?
Yeah, well, I'd done some feasibilities on the site, been at pre-lodgement meetings and seeing what the best possible use of land would be there, and I went down the residential track, because that was what I knew more about than the commercial side. Yeah. A bit different to yourself. So, and I could potentially get 17, 18 blocks of land on there. That was with a street going in into smaller blocks of land.
So 11,000 divided by 7, so you're talking like 600 or 700 square metre blocks or something like that?
No, we need to put roads in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
And also one of the blocks would be used for the sewage treatment works and all that. So, some of the blocks were as small as 400 square metres.
Okay.
Like they would approve. They indicated they would approve that. The council in our pre-lodgement meetings would go for.
So you had a pre-lodgement meeting, and then you had your architect or building designer draw up some plans,
Yeah.
but you didn't go ahead and actually go through the approval.
I had town planners, had Birchells do a subdivision, everything was done. I got the approvals in to proceed, got the neighbours potentially to agree with me as well, apart from the lady next door. And unfortunately, I went through a health event during this phase about sort of nearly 9 years ago. I had a heart attack and had to be revived several times, like 8 or 9 times. So it was more than 10 minutes.
I didn't know. I knew you had a heart attack.
Yeah.
You were riding your bike.
Yeah, I was at a 160 kilometre cycling event in north of Noosa. And anyway, I crashed and I had to be revived several times.
I thought that you just had a minor heart attack and you went to hospital and they said, take it easy for a while. I didn't know you had to be revived.
I was in an induced coma for a week. Yeah.
Wow.
On Sunshine Coast University Hospital. I don't recall anything for that whole week, which...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, after that, my life changed in terms of my way of thinking, and I even, had a brain injury out of it because without oxygen for over 10 minutes. So some people don't come out of it. They're like, you could be a vegetable. So that I saw life at a different light in terms of
So obviously you've fallen over in this bike race. Was it one of your competitors that was behind you that stopped?
Yeah, I had a couple of doctors that were in my group
right.
and they kept me alive. And then another guy came along that stopped as well, and he was a lifesaver on the Sunshine Coast. And that's why I had 11 cracked ribs as well. So he resuscitated.
Did you hit him back later?
Yeah. Well, he was the reason I'm here today. But so I still keep in touch with him every year.
Right.
And he named his son Gus,
Wow. I've known you nearly 20 years. I didn't actually know the full story there. That's thanks for sharing that, Gus. So that happened to you whilst you were about to pay an application fee to the council to lodge all this application, and then you decided that health and living is more important, and you decided not to go down that track. So did you then appoint an agent to sell it? Is that what happened?
Well, I didn't appoint an agent. I thought I knew enough to the market of what it's worth.
Okay.
But I certainly got it out there with agents to give me ideas of what each block of land, if I sold the 3 blocks as they were with one with the house, and they gave me a figure of what they're worth individual, which I thought would be the best possible, or an englobo option where, the possibility of an 18 block, 17 block subdivision, depending on which way you want to go. I came up with a figure net to me because I didn't have to pay an agent's fee, but it was 1.7.
1.7.
It was roughly $100,000 per block, but without a DA. So this was just an indicative of what could be done on the property, depending on what somebody wanted to do. And
you got 1.7.
1.7 in my hand,
And just curious, like when you did your numbers, was that figure of 1.7 with a feasibility there to have 17 or 18 blocks or whatever it was that way higher than if you had it just subdivided into 3 blocks?
Yes. Yeah, I was told that I could get, for example, on the 2 small blocks, somewhere in the vicinity of 3 to 350 back. And then, with the larger block, funny enough, not that much more, and it was virtually...
So you might have only got 1.1, 1.2 if you sold 3 blocks, but 1.7 for the potentially the more sites.
It made more sense go down the track, and this was around the time where with what happened in the market where the price just boomed after that. Yeah,
right.
This was at that time where timing was essential, and this is where prices went up substantially, and costs of building, of course, as we know, in this time frame.
And the developer who bought that from you, did they do what you proposed? They went and built the lots and
18 blocks, and they sold them and made a very healthy profit. Yeah.
Okay.
I was selling from the cheapest block of land was $585, and some blocks.
Oh wow!
Some blocks were even up to $700,000.
Wow. Okay.
So if I didn't have that health scare, I guess, and had done it myself, even done a JV, it would have been far more profitable. But I still made a profit. I still made $1 million plus after tax.
Gus, I want to talk to you about different options with land investment, because I haven't got a lot of experience with subdividing land, but you've done a lot of deals. So the way I see it with land is like you can choose as the developer or the investor when you want to sell it, obviously. And stage one, the lazy bit, is just a land bank, hold on to it, and over time let the market do its thing and prices go up, and you can sell the land at a profit down the track. Stage two is you can get those land entitlements done by going to council and actually lodging an application and getting approval to subdivide into multiple lots, which provides an uplift in the land. And a lot of people do very, very well just going and doing that, just buying land, getting a DA, and then just flicking it. And you see even on the Gold Coast here, such a high percentage of sites with DAs just never even get built, but people have still profited.
I've done that myself as well, where I've sold with a DA. A couple of blocks in Southport, I bought 2 houses side by side, and got an approval for 11 townhouses. And somebody approached me that I knew in the finance industry and wanted the site and asked me how much you want for it. And I just threw a figure at him. He says, I'll buy it. I don't have to wait 9 months to go through the whole process. He wanted to go and do it straight away.
Great. So there's a second example where you've actually added value.
Well,
yep.
Yeah. It's hard to remember with my brain injury, but there's things that come back to me, and I recall that I've done things like that as well.
Awesome. So interrupt me again if you've done the next one. So the next way that I see it anyway is you can, instead of just land banking, instead of just getting the development approval for the land, you can actually go in and connect all the services, build the roads, connect the NBN, electricity, water, sewer, and all that sort of stuff, and then just sell the land off once you've got separate titles. And then stage 4, if you want to go the whole route, is you can actually build houses on the thing and sell house and land packages. So do you have a view? Like, you've obviously done the first couple. Well, you've done full ground up construction as well. So you're much more experienced than me with all of this ground up construction. So what's your view on those different stages, and when you should just sell just from land banking versus getting a DA and flicking versus connecting utilities and flicking, or going the whole full Monty ground up development? Do you have an opinion on that? And can you talk about what times in a cycle you might have a different exit strategy, if you like?
I personally think where you are, what stage you are in life. I guess when you're younger, I found I was more aggressive, and I could conquer the world and have a big crack at life, and really make a difference. So I would certainly go to the 4th one, do the whole lot, where I'm going from raw land to getting an approval to getting all the services there, to building new houses or townhouses or apartments, whatever it may be. When I was younger, I was certainly more aggressive, and I would go for the full Monty. I would go for the whole lot.
Can I clarify that? Would you do that by yourself, or in a partnership with someone more experienced, or with someone with different skill sets?
Yeah, I think, me personally, I didn't have a building background, so I went into a partnership, in my case, with somebody who was in the building industry and knew that area a lot better than me. And where I was more in the buying the raw land and in a good position at the right price, and also on the selling side, because I had a real estate license as well, which I could use my services in the saving them on the commission side, I guess.
Yeah.
So we controlled the whole facet of the whole process. We controlled the process of getting a raw bit of land, to developing it and to selling it. So we controlled our destiny, basically. We didn't cross our fingers and hoped that somebody could sell it to that price, or whatever, because we wanted the prices to be kept to a certain level, so it didn't affect the valuations. Because we, as you may or may not know, that once you sell your first, you're more or less setting the market.
Setting a market,
and that's a valuation. When somebody.
That's why it's only the last one that can be discounted.
You can discount. As long as you're not doing another development next door. You don't want to go down that path, but certainly you want to reach, knowing that you want your 20% margin, for example, that you're gaining for, or more in some cases, if you're you're more involved with doing the selling process as well. But yeah.
The reason I say that for the listeners' benefit is there's probably lots of people wanting to get into property development that are scared, like you should be if you don't know how to do everything. But Gus wasn't a builder. He was good at acquiring. Let me tell you, he's extremely good at finding good deals and finding sites, and he also had the ability to sell them. But he's teamed up with another gentleman who had the building expertise to cover that gap, and that gave him confidence to go out and do deals.
Yes.
And none of us are good at everything, so it's about the team, isn't it, Gus?
Exactly, yeah. And you've got to make it worthwhile for both parties, so you've got to go in 50-50 because you've got to make it worthwhile to both parties. The minute you start doing 60-40s or, the other person loses interest, so yeah.
How did you, getting off the topic of the gender here, but were all your deals done through one construction company, or did you set up a separate entity for each lot of townhouses that you built with the builder?
We did it through one entity.
One entity the whole time. Okay.
We had a common company based
50 shares,
yes,
and
yes.
just
with us as directors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess some people may not do it that way. There's more exposure if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were fortunate. We had a good run with that sort of side. We didn't run into difficulty, but and when we eventually split up and did our own thing separately, it was very amicable to the point where I had lunch every week with him with Jack every week. So yeah, we were still best of friends.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we didn't. Yeah, sometimes it is a divorce type thing, but it can work out in some cases.
Okay, awesome, Gus. Thanks for your knowledge there, mate. Got deal number 3, 49 Brighton Street, Biggerel Waters. You've bought a block of units, renovated it, and sold it with a 33, not a 20% property developer's margin, but a 33% renovator's margin, all within 1 year.
Yes.
Can you talk us through the numbers? I haven't written down how much you paid for it and sold it for.
And that particular, that was an existing block of 9 brick and tile, 3-story walk-up block of units.
Yep.
In one block from the beach, Bigger Waters there.
Yep.
So the property's behind it.
The Broadwater, not the beach.
Sorry, Broadwater. There is sand there. Not surfing beach. No. But it's the properties it backed onto were actually fronting Marine Parade, so they had the view. So there was a bit of a glimpse on some
water glimpses
on the upper floors apartments. But I saw an opportunity there. We're having just developed new properties up until then, and the raw land long-term scenarios that we talked about as well. There was a bit of a gap between second-hand properties or established properties, older units, and new. So I had an idea what the news would cost, and how they come complete, and how they predominantly, they pretty well all came with en-suites. And that was the biggest hurdle. I thought, how am I going to make this compete or get to that level where I can try and value add as best I can with the floor plan or the footprint that I've already got, because I can't really increase. I've got 9 titles here.
Yep.
That was one of the reasons I bought it. So I had 9 titles, so I didn't have to approach council.
It wasn't all on one title.
So I didn't have to approach council with. So if I was going to build something, or add on, I'd have to, or if they were a block of flats, that would go with today's code, that current year, not 20 years earlier when they were built. So I can't take something from me I've already got.
Yes.
Like a title deed.
Gotcha.
So what I did was I looked at the footprint and engaged a builder to come and have a look with me. And we could see there's an opportunity there. We could create an ensuite out of each unit, because they were all 3 identical floor plans,
This is during the due diligence you brought your builder mate in to
just to have a look. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Had a quick look, and he ascertained that we could make something work here. We could take out this wall or take out this cupboard, and we could create an ensuite. And I could see dollar signs, because I'm going, well, this is going to improve. This is what I want to do, because I wanted to not only gut the units, so brand new bathrooms, kitchens, everything, except we just kept the shell. But But
Were they originally 9 2-bed, 1 bath?
2 beds, 1 bath each.
And you turned them into 9 2-bed, 2 bath?
Yes. So they all had en suites.
So you didn't need council approval, but you would have had to fill in a form for
Would have had to
plumbing.
for the plumbing side. That cost a little bit.
Yeah.
Negligible in comparison what you add the value to.
Yeah, right.
To eventually, but so we created a 2-bedroom ensuite apartment. They all had lock-up. I also gave them all lock-up garages. They couldn't have underground because it wasn't an underground setup like back in the day. Yeah. But the block of land was so big that we had 9 lock-up garages at the back of the block of land at the in the rear of the site.
So how long did it take you to do that renovation, Gus? You didn't do it. Your mate did it.
Well, I engaged a builder.
Yeah.
But I was on site every day through the building process.
Okay, you're involved.
So I was involved in all the tradespeople coming in and out and what I wanted, and what I got approval, to be developed into. Okay. So I more or less paid him a fee per week to use his license, but I was there supervising.
And you have to too.
But he had to sign any work over a certain amount of money because he had the building license.
Yes, it is.
But I paid him a fee every week just to use his license. But that process took approximately 6 months to renovate the whole block because it was all replicated. They weren't the biggest of units. They were approximately 90 square metres each, 95 square metres, and plus a little balcony on each one or a courtyard. We created courtyards on the 3 bottom ones as well. All nicely landscaped. We rendered the bricks. We when you looked at it, you thought it was a brand new block of units.
Can you summarise the numbers just in rough numbers? Like what did you buy the whole 9 units for? What price?
Purchase price was negotiated down to 1.35.
1.35 million.
Which is 150,000 for each unit.
150,000 for each unit.
Okay, you want to divide that by 9.
Yep.
And in total, the total renovation costs from start to finish, everything was $450,000. That's with me being involved and hands-on managing all the sites.
Divided by 9 is 50 grand for each unit.
50,000 per unit. Yes. No.
So purchase 150, you spend 50. So each of the 9 units owed you 200.
Maybe 200.
And then what was your exit strategy, Gus?
In terms of sale price?
Did you sell them all on one day or you sold them individually?
I sat on site and advertised them as an agent.
Sold them yourself.
Sold them myself. The prices were in the high 200s, some in the low 300s, but say an average of about $300,000 per property. But I was advised once I hit the 6th sale to slow down and stagger them over the next financial year. So not to pay as much tax.
Gotcha.
Because I was then looking at the process of buying another site. You have continuous development.
So as part of tax planning, you trigger some before 30th of June and you made the rest after 1 July.
Our contract dated 1st July or thereafter in some cases, if you can do it that way. Because at the time, there were active buyers around and people were being brought to me on site, or in most cases, people were just walking in off my signage. Yeah.
So 33% profit. So it cost you 150, you spent 50, 200 a lot. You sold them for 300. That's 50% profit. You made 100, but you only put in 200 for each. You made 50% profit.
If you want to call it that, yeah.
That's
in 12 months.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was fairly proud of that development, because it was the first one I did on my own.
Yeah.
After my partnership arrangements with building the new developments. Yeah. So that sort of stood out to me, thinking, wow, I didn't have to lean on anyone, but I gained a lot of experience from my building and selling other projects previously.
Yeah.
With new developments. But and I did that with a few other developments after that, where I bought more blocks of units that were strata titled and did the same thing. So
I said at the start of the podcast 33 because I was thinking 100 out of 300 selling price is 1/3, but it's actually 50%. 100 on 200 is 50% margin.
When you look at 200 as a base, yeah.
That's incredible. Like most developers are happy with 20 to 25, aren't they?
Yeah, I was fortunate that I had the opportunity to create an ensuite. It added value because then you people could see it. Wow, this is like a new unit. Whereas if you're buying a a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, thinking, oh, this is an old unit. You then can compete when the new units were selling for, let's say at the time, around 330 to 350. So I kept it below that,
10% below. Yeah.
below it, and and buying them in that price and being involved in the redevelopment process. It certainly
was all of that uplift there, Gus, due to your skill of doing the renovation and recognising the market, or do you think, once again, when you bought that site for 1.35, do you think you bought a bit of equity there? Did you buy that really well at 1.35? Do you think maybe that was under market when you bought it?
I thought it was good value for money.
Yeah,
it probably was a little bit undervalued, but I think it was close to the market. Might have been worth maybe closer to 1.5, but I thought it was very in a good location, being near the water, and also being strata title.
They already had separate water meters, already strata title.
And the good thing was I didn't have to negotiate with 9 different owners. One company, like a superannuation company, owned them.
Oh, right.
So that made life a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can understand that,
Yeah.
if you're buying a strata title block of units, you normally are negotiating with a number of different owners.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
I was fortunate to negotiate with one owner. So it made life a lot easier and cleaner and quicker, because in some cases it could take, may never come off because you only need one person not to want to sell. You can't do it.
So 100 grand per unit times 9. So you made 900 grand. That's, again, probably more than your salary as a teacher, I guess.
Just a tad, yeah. And with super included, yeah.
Okay, last deal. This one I'm fairly familiar with. I was the selling agent. It was a mortgagee in possession sale. 18 Eden Court in Nerang. A very large luxury single-level house with a massive pool and 4 modern townhouses. We can both talk through this deal because I was involved with it, but tell us how the deal happened, Gus.
Well, it started with a phone call from you telling me that there was a property going to auction, which I attended, and it didn't sell, as you know, at auction. The reserve, I think you said, was
3.2 from memory.
3.2 million, which, didn't excite me, that price, but
it was probably fair.
But it was a lot of property there.
Yeah.
There was 4 3-bedroom en-suited townhouses, as you know, and actually 2 of the bathrooms were en-suite, aren't they? So it's got 3 bathrooms. They got 3 I think they had 3.
I can't remember now.
I think they're 3 bathrooms. Yeah. So they're 3-bedroom, 3 bathrooms.
Yep.
Because the downstairs one had its own bathroom,
Yes.
and one of the upstairs one was en-suited as well. And there's another bathroom upstairs as well. So 3-bedroom, 3 bath. So you're talking 12 bedrooms in the townhouses.
Yeah.
And they were only a couple of years old.
Yeah, they were modern. Yeah.
They were only a couple of years old. And the house was 6 bedrooms. Yeah. And quite a big gymnasium, big pool, and a big chunk of land. So it was almost an acre in total, just under an acre. I just thought, as an income stream, because this was just after my health issue, when I sold the Gilston property we talked about earlier, I wanted to park my money to something else, and I thought I could see, rather than taking a punt with something and going through the whole risk process of developing something, I just wanted an income stream of why do I have to go through all this? I'm not a young man as I used to be at the stage, and I'm thinking, well, I should look for something where it's giving me passive income. And I went through that process, and most residential properties I could find were 5, 6, 7% sort of gross.
Gross, yeah.
This one was showing a bit more.
About 8 point something. Yeah.
And I could see there was even potential for more there down the track, if we could find the right tenancy. Because the property was originally geared for a rehabilitation type centre where they could set up people and properties, and there was the potential of maybe down the track we could look at something like that where you could possibly increase the rental return by having a more specialised tenant that would maybe even look at renting the whole premises, all 18 bedrooms,
So you didn't buy it at auction. It didn't sell. And what happened after that? I'll fill in the blanks if you miss something. Okay, well, I'll tell you what happened. So I actually don't know the full story, but what actually happened was the mortgagee in possession rang me and said, Andrew, we've got a situation here. We need to sell this within 48 hours. I still don't know what that situation was. Can you get me $2.5 million for it? Now, remember, I'd just been given a reserve price of $3.2 million on this site. I thought it was fair value at that, and I'm extremely confident that that $3.2 million would have been based around a professional valuation. Usually a bank or a mortgagee in possession would pay for a valuer to value a property to come up with a reserve price, and I think 3.2 was probably fair value. Now, when he said 2.5, my immediate thought was, I've got to buy this thing myself, but I just wasn't in a position to fund it. So I thought, which one of my mates can I help make 700 grand today by signing a contract? And you're the only one I rang because you'd already made the effort to come and have a look at the place. If I'd have rang someone else, they would have requested an inspection and give 24 hours notice to the tenants. It would have been too late. You're the only person I rang, and you had the courage to meet me the next day in a McDonald's in Benalla, I think it was, and sit at Macca's and sign a contract the next day for 2.5 million cash, 700,000 under market value.
Yeah, lucky I got a mate like you to help to give me that phone call. So
well, partially yes, but what I want to say to the viewers is that people talk about, a once in a lifetime deal. Gus, you've done plenty of them because you put in the work. You go to the auctions just in case something's going to be a deal. And if you hadn't have gone and put in the work and attend that auction, which you thought afterwards that night was a waste of time because it didn't go for the right price, because you put in the work, you find the good deals. And I've been myself, when you were very active many years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, I've gone to many, many auctions. I walk in there and look around and there's Gus Vella. So you haven't done the numbers probably, but you probably sat in 100 auctions before you find one deal of a lifetime, and you've bought heaps of them because you put in the work and you do the due diligence. You know what the other comparables have sold for. You know in your mind, if I can pick this up for X, that's a great deal, and you're extremely good, you're passionate about it, and you put in the work. And that's what I want the viewers to know.
Yeah, that's true. As my wife will tell you, I do spend a lot of time in checking on realestate.com or just through word of mouth or finding out information, what's going on in the marketplace. So, and it pays to stay ahead of the market if you can, and something comes up at the right time, the right price, and you can pounce on it and not have regrets later because you didn't. I took a bit of too long to do my due diligence.
You had the courage. You'd done the due diligence. I rang you. It was literally the next day we met at McDonald's there with your partner, and we signed up that contract. 700 grand under market value, and a lot of other people might have been too scared to sign a contract like that, but you were confident in the site, you'd done your due diligence, and you had the courage to go for it. Now, since then, like the rents at that time were about 200 grand a year on that 2.5, which is probably an 8% gross yield, and over the last 4 years that we've managed that property for you, you've managed to increase the rents probably, another 50 grand a year?
Yeah, it's yes, earning
maybe a quarter of a mil.
Earning about 250,000.
10% gross.
Yeah, it's around 10% purchase price. That was for 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And been fortunate enough to find a tenant that is in an industry where they are seeking more accommodation elsewhere, and if they can find it all around that one property where they can use the swimming pool and use a gymnasium and all those facilities there, and have an office there, it's worked out better than I first thought. Whereas now, with now getting a high yield, where they now lease all five properties,
all five of the properties,
five properties, and would do anything to stay there. I'm getting the impression, if they're in the street, they're in the NDIS industry, so they obviously
giving the government incentives
to fund it, and seem to be a very successful business. So as long as that business stays successful, which it should, and NDIS is still there, and the government doesn't decide to change the rules on it, we'll be expecting increases in rents over the next few years as well.
Does that mean my management fee goes up? So Gus,
talk about it later.
you drove a very hard bargain on that too, by the way. But you're a really good negotiator, Gus. But look, what I want the viewers to really learn from Gus's experience here is not only did he buy 700,000 under market on day one, he's now getting a 10% gross yield on the purchase price, 250,000 rent from 2.5 million, and now there's more to come because Gus has, through his own experience, found out a potential way to subdivide some of the footpath there, which has a big chunk of land on it, to build a sixth dwelling. Now, this hasn't been approved yet, but if Gus pulls it off, and it's likely he will, he'll get a 6 block of land for free to build another dwelling on it. Can you tell us your intentions there and how's that going, Gus?
Yeah. Well, it's going through the... had several pre-lodgement meetings with council already, and they've indicated, yes, it's something they would entertain, as long as certain conditions are met with the infrastructure that's existing under there. So we have to do a little bit of work on that side, but the land is approximately 500 square metres of land at the fronting the road, so we've got road frontage.
Yep.
But the services, everything's there. It's just a matter of making it work. We've got a house already built, designed for the block and they've given us the nod on that. So it's just a matter of having the right setbacks, and going through the process and getting council approval. But there's really only one neighbour who you sold to. You sold the other house to, because
number 16.
Yeah, he's the only neighbour really, because there's nobody else in the close vicinity, because the properties across the road are in an estate.
So part of that approval, I'm guessing, might be to build some sort of acoustic fence behind your house to separate a bit of the noise, and then you'd have some infrastructure charges to pay for a new house, but it's not going to be substantial.
No.
You've basically got a free block of land there because of you thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Well, let's use this land that's just sitting there.
Yeah. Well, originally I was thinking... I've helped out one of my sons in getting a property, his first property, and my other son, he also is in that age group where he should be looking for a property. But as you know, the market conditions are pretty tough for first home buyers, especially on the Gold Coast, where they're now rated second highest in Australia after Sydney. So, and I'm trying to help him out with that block of land, possibly also for him. And it is his first home, to build a house there. So that sort of thing, these are the sort of things you think of once you go through a bit of a health scare, or not even that. You just want to help your kids out, because at the end of the day, you can't take it with you. It's going to be theirs one day. You might as well have a say in what they're getting,
And you're teaching your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
About how to add value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense to me that it's a natural progression of helping my sons out as well, getting their first homes and
Gus, I've already come to the conclusion towards the end of this podcast that I need to somehow con you to come and do another one, because I'm sure that we can provide a lot more really good lessons to the listeners on other. Maybe just do one focus on what you've learned about ground up construction with you building your townhouse sites and selling them off, because I'm sure that they'll learn a lot from that, because we haven't really gone through that today. But there's 4 awesome deals that you've done, mate. And look, you were a bit of a mentor to me in the early days, from not from an agent's point of view, but from a buyer's point of view. I used to see you come into my office, Andrew, can you manage this property I've bought? And I'd look at the price you'd pay and I'd say, well, is that the real price? I couldn't believe how cheap you buy sites on. And it's because of your work ethic, because you go to the auctions, you look at 100 or 200 deals to find the deal of a lifetime that you seem to find every 3 or 6 months, because you put in the effort. And I've never told you this face to face, but it's true. You actually were in some part a mentor to me when I go out and buy. I looked up to you as to how rigorous you were at going through all the numbers and turning up to the auctions and leaving no stones unturned to find a good deal, because that's what I do now. So thank you for paving the way.
Thank you.
Just a few questions to finish up, Gus. Strategy, mindset, and lessons for the viewers. What role has timing and real estate cycles played in your success? So when you're buying a site or working out whether you should develop it or flick it, can you answer that question just briefly?
Yeah, well, just that example of how we started off our chat there earlier with my first house. I mean, that was a bit of luck. That I timed it when the stock market crashed and it doubled in value in 12 months. I mean, timing is essential. If everybody says, let's put our money into real estate, like let's put money into gold, there's a war going on, or silver, it's timing. You've got to...
Not last Friday. Don't put money into silver last for 30% loss overnight.
But timing is essential. Yes, it does help. But sometimes you do, after a while, when you see how cycles work, that there's opportunities that do come up, and if you don't have a go, you never know, you've got to make it happen. All right. So you can sit on the fence or sit in your chair and look at it all go past or go by. But until you see an opportunity and have a crack at it, as you're doing now in other facets, you can make it happen too. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Gus. I think we've covered the importance of relationships. The 700,000 under market, your relationship with your builder friend. I guess you had a team of town planners and things as well that you work with.
Yes.
Are there any other stories that you'd like to tell about how important it is to have relationships? Like real estate investing, I believe is a team sport, it's not just you, it's sort of a team. Have you got any other examples of why relationships are important with real estate investing?
Well, it's very important. I mean, a relationship with a good real estate agent is important. If there's something you can't source off market, for example, but you can hear you don't know about through being realestate.com. So that's very important. I mean, relationships with builders is very important because you got to know what you can change this property into or to value add if you can do that potentially. Or with a town planner that can see the potential, on what this site, this ugly duckling could be turned into, and the profitability of it all, getting a quantity surveyor and getting it costed out and thinking, yes, this is a go or no, after doing your due diligence, So there's certainly relationships with various people you need to have. And obviously when you're starting off, you need a good relationship with a bank manager because you need somebody who wants to help you believe in your dream of what you want to create here.
Or a private lender.
Or a private lender, if you're, depending on your circumstances. Certainly you need a helping hand because I certainly needed somebody else's money to start off. I couldn't have done it with my own money. So, and as I got on, you're certainly building equity and profit and in property to stand on your own 2 feet, so to speak. So and not leading partnerships that you don't have to be in if you don't necessarily need to be in. And so it can be more profitable for you down the track.
Absolutely. Can you tell us about a deal that didn't go to plan, and like not just investment, maybe a development that you've done where the numbers didn't come out with your 20 or 30% profit margin, Gus?
Yeah, well, one does come to mind, which I just remembered recently, and that was a site in Brisbane, in a place called St Lucia, opposite the golf course, and we found this property, a nice older home on 3 blocks of land, on a big block of land that potentially could be subdivided into 3 blocks, which is what we did. And by the time we dealt with the Brisbane City Council, which had different heritage rules that I wasn't familiar with, I didn't have that experience down the Gold Coast or Tweed Shire, where properties weren't necessarily that old. I struck a lot of extra costs that didn't factor in, and also with the slope of the land that needed to be tended to make it, to subdivide, all the conditions of the council that put on beforehand.
Or are you talking retaining walls or stormwater issues?
What is stormwater and retaining walls? Yes.
Yeah, and the house was a pre-1947 or 1957 house that had heritage
listing.
Yeah.
So it added a lot of extra costs, which to move it meant a lot more extra expense, and so we eventually made it work, but we virtually just got our money back. So there was certainly no profit in it, but we subdivided
it. A year of your life or a bit longer?
Took probably 12 months, yes. And we also drew up plans with architects for each individual house on each block of land and get the views of the golf course and all that. But at the end of the day, we just took our money back out of it and moved on to something we felt more comfortable with and knew more about.
That's really interesting because a lot of property developers sort of on social media say you really should stick to one council and get familiar with their rules. And there's an example where you've ventured off into a different council and you weren't familiar with the heritage homes, for example, and you got burnt.
Yeah. So there's always a lesson to be learnt.
Yeah.
As long as you don't do the same mistake twice, you haven't learnt. So we didn't do that again.
Okay. Gus, second last question. Are there any books that you've read that have influenced your mindset or, your strategy around property investing or developing?
Yeah, definitely. One book that stands out was Building Wealth Through Investment Property by a lady called Jan Summers.
I've read it.
Yep. And early in my piece, I certainly picked up a lot from that. And with the author being an ex-school teacher and me being an ex-school teacher, I certainly could relate to a lot of it. And I educated a lot of people that talked to me at the time because this is in the 1990s. And I made a policy that anybody who bought a property from me, through me, I even gave them a book. So just
the Jan Summers book
I gave them a book. I don't have any of them.
Because you believe in the content.
I believed in the content and the concept. And because a lot of people I talked to and dealt with were people looking to buy an investment property. And what better way than learning how you get other people pay the property off for you rather than use your hard-earned money, because you really want to pay your own house off as fast as you can, because that's not tax deductible. Whereas with an investment property, well, first you can get a tenant or tenants moving into the property, help you pay it off. And also the government can certainly, depending on how much tax you pay and how old the property is, it's you, or you can claim depreciation and all these other factors, and through your taxes, the more tax you pay, the more potential tax refund you can get through gearing the property, through negative gearing, and potentially you could only be putting in as little as $20 or $50 a week out of your own pocket, and other people buying this help you pay off this property, which eventually will be yours. Yep. So I thought, why doesn't everybody know this? Why isn't this taught at schools? I
got to admit, that is the first residential property investing book I ever read too, and I was blown away. But unfortunately for me, I bought in the early 1990s, and we had a pretty slow decade of returns at that time. But that was the first book that I read too, and it was awesome. Yeah, so you come out with a second follow-up book.
You had another one, coming afterwards, but it was something that I used a lot and spread the word much like I wasn't getting any money out of selling the books. I was just giving them as a gift, just to reiterate what I was telling people. And there's even programs out where you could put in your income and put in the age of the property and the rent and everything, and it'll give you
the after tax
figure
cost. Yeah, right.
So there was even software out to help people get better understanding how right to them.
So you use that as an agent with your project marketing too, didn't you? When you're selling your units and things, you plug it into the calculator and show people any
an estimate. I mean, they always want to speak to their investment advisor or their accountant or
of course,
banker. But that was just an example of what it could work out to be based on what information they gave me, what I knew about the property. So it's important for them to know that it's not as hard as paying off your own home mortgage.
Absolutely.
As opposed to investment property. So I thought
leveraging
is very important, and everybody should be doing it, at a younger age.
I agree.
Not leave it until it's too late. So it made a difference.
Final question, Gus. if the viewers in the audience are interested in development, property development, not just long-term buying property investments, is there any one bit of wisdom that you'd share with someone wanting to start a property development journey?
Yeah, I guess in my own case, I start off small. So start off with one property, be it a duplex or a unit or a house. If you're going to be renovating or doing anything of that nature, definitely start small and get a taste for it and see if it's for you, because it may not be your cup of tea. I mean, you can see all these shows on TV where they're renovating or building from you, and the sale prices far exceed what their expectations were in some cases. But see if it's something that you can see yourself doing, I guess. But definitely start small. If you go in boots and all with everything too much, you could get yourself into trouble. So you got to have an escape or it's something we're not going over your head. So, but it's certainly an opportunity you shouldn't miss out on.
Thanks for your time, Gus. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming in. I really hope I can convince you to do a second podcast down the track with some of these other deals. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Gus.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. This is all about building a community of like-minded investors who can share real-life stories, experiences, and collaborate with a view to helping each other. Join us. Get in touch through the link in the show notes. I look forward to you joining me on the next episode.